1 hour later.
Hello, my sons. So, today we're going to talk about Majora's Mask, and, seeing as Backlog gave me this, I don't know where he's at. I thought he would make more of an appearance here, but I guess we'll have to get started without him, but it shouldn't be long. Also, this game is one of the shortest Zeldas that you can play, and you know what? I mean, it's kind of just like its development. That was also short. It says I'm 5'7" on my driver's license. Does that mean I'm short?
Originally, Majora's Mask was supposed to be a reimagining of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 to be ported on the new Nintendo 64 double disc drive.
It was so good, it didn't leave Japan.
But Eiji Aonuma spent a long time making those dungeons and already felt that they were perfect. And he wanted to move on to the next Zelda project. Basically, he just said, nope, these dungeons are already perfect, and felt that it was time for the next game.
What, did he not get a chance to play the Water Temple?
So instead of tarnishing the work that he thought was already perfect, the catch that Miyamoto gave him was he only had a year to do this, and yeah, that's right, Sakurai isn't the only one to develop a game within basically the span of a year. The only difference is they reused pretty much every single asset from Ocarina of Time, except a few exceptions here and there. One of those exceptions being the main villain, Skull Kid, who dons the infamous Majora's Mask, from an extinct race of people who... Oh, come on, another one? Now, you might be saying to yourself, why not review both the original and the 3DS port? Well, they're basically the same game. They just reused, the same animations and stuff, and on top of that, outside of a few tweaks here and there, this gave me an opportunity to look at the Nintendo Switch Online. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, this game is short as is. It only took me, I think, maybe, I want to say 20 to 30 hours to complete it with a guide. And I also have a weird history with this game. I've always played it passively, at least on the 3DS, because I don't have an original Nintendo 64 copy anymore. And I did get it for free from a retro game store that closed in my nearby hometown called Platinum Star Games, which, again, I feel like this is going to be remastered just like Ocarina of Time, but on actual console hardware, not just the 3DS, even though it was immaculate that it was on the 3DS. I'm just saying I think it will go elsewhere. In due time, of course. But again, what really drawed me in was the Nintendo Switch Online, seeing as I pay for this and I don't really use the online services for the retro games as much as I should, or as one should, just because I like physical media. So this gave me a chance to see what Nintendo could do with emulation.
It's okay.
Another reason this game has a special place in my heart is, even though I haven't played it fully, my mother and I do love Majora's Mask. We got the collector's edition 3DSs, and even though she can't find hers, mine I still have. She ended up getting me a replica mask as a holiday gift as well, just when I was younger, and she also did some perler bead stuff, which was really cool. Just, I don't know, she liked it for a while. She made some other sick Zelda stuff and other Nintendo goodies as well for me when I was younger, so W's in the chat for Mom. Also, another thing, when GameStop was actually doing their rewards and stuff and giving cool promotional stuff, they actually did give a sick poster away as long as you had enough points, and I did eventually get one. And finally, I got it framed, too. Don't get me wrong, I know it's absolutely weird to like a game before ever playing it fully, but you know what, that's fine. I mean, at least it wasn't some terrible indie game that only took, 1 year to make, made by 3 people in a short period of time, and oh god, I'm talking about my game. Which is funny because I've played a lot of Zelda games passively, never actually completing them fully, and I think this is a rare opportunity to see what the past was capable of. The only problem is the present. And again, Nintendo Switch Online, it's a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to its controls. The plus side is you can rewind any mistake the exact moment you make it, which is great, and most emulators technically already do that. The one problem I have is, though, it's the directional pad for the Nintendo 64. I'm sorry, I replayed a lot of this game just because I either missed a jump or there was just some kind of minigame where I messed up because I couldn't get the proper controls down, just because the Nintendo 64 had an 8-directional input system, not a full 360 analog stick, like the Nintendo Switch Pro controller I used for this review. It made things a lot more difficult, and no, I don't want to just buy a very expensive controller. I already did that, technically.
Look, alright, I'm pretty sure that if there wasn't a rewind feature, people would be a lot more bitchy about this. So I promise to only be mildly bitchy.
I don't expect them to change the game's code. I mean, they haven't done it for Super Mario 64 DS, so why would they do it here? And you know what? That's fine. Again, it's just one of those things where I wasn't certain what moves to do, especially with the Zora attack. It doesn't explicitly tell you, when you switch to the mask, like what controls transform to what when you hit the pause menu. So it was a bit of a letdown for me just to see that they didn't put in the extra effort to at least tell you what controls were what. I later figured out it was the shield button, and again, it's not that big of a deal, but to the average player, this would be very annoying.
So you only get like 3 rewind cycles is what I'll call it. It's not indefinite. So that's kind of like why I'm saying it's not the best it could be, but it's not the worst it could be. It's just enough effort to where people can pay for it, basically. And since it's the cheapest out of all the online options, sure.
Now, you guys might be saying, it's a lot of work to change the code, and, I would agree with you, especially if you want to put 360-degree movement in, so, I get that. But you know what I really can't get behind? The cheap UI. Here, let me show you. Yeah, I don't like it either. Again, where the heck are the custom themes here? Or at the very least, game-specific themes, so that, I'm not burning my eyes on this pure black screen. At least with any kind of actual emulation, you can kind of customize this stuff. And remember, the 3DS had custom themes for the home menu, so why is this so bland? I don't know. We're paying for this, Nintendo.
For comparison, here's a bread sandwich.
So, the story follows Link after the events of Ocarina of Time, which, again, you guys might be roasting me in the comments for playing this before Ocarina of Time, but it's fine. The Legend of Zelda timeline is weird anyway, and no, we are not going to talk about the timeline, because Nintendo doesn't even care about that, right? Looking for Navi, his lost friend, he parted on a journey to only get lost in the forest, meeting a strange woodland creature named Skull Kid. After spooking him off of his horse, Epona, now basically, he just followed him in to give chase, and all of a sudden, he drops into a world, Alice in Wonderland style, down the rabbit hole, and oh man, Termina is like the weirdest purgatory of a landscape I've ever seen. You wake up as a Deku scrub, only to realize that this mask that you put on is a dead Deku with the soul of him inside the mask, and you are just currently wearing it. It's just, what the heck? Even worse, you see the Mourning Father later on. It's just really eerie.
Dude, I thought this was a Zelda game. Why? This is getting really dark, like, really fast.
You use the dead kid's power to get back your ocarina before...
Did Link just die?
Yeah, if you don't get the chance to play Groundhog Day with your ocarina, it's game over. Tattle is your fairy companion after being abandoned by, Tail and Skull Kid, which, Tattletale, pretty funny. And, this fairy is kind of the voice of reason, and Skull Kid kind of just falls on deaf ears when it comes to that. She's your guide to understanding Skull Kid and how he turned out the way he was. Turns out he's not actually terrible, he's just very misunderstood, and the mask only preyed on his fears, which is just really great. Wow, that's really deep for Zelda, wow. Anyway, so, after that happens, you quickly learn where he got the mask from.
Either that mask was really important, or that's what it's like having a dad.
Yeah, this happy-go-lucky weird mask salesman tasked you with getting his mask back after 3 days, after you failed confronting Majora the first time. Now, since you have 3 days before he leaves for Doomsday, which, oh my gosh, I have a love-hate relationship with this mechanic, but you get to go forward in time, no issue. Your items carry, that's fine. But if you go back in time, you lose your bombs, your rupees, your arrows, your things in your jars, basically everything except main items, being heart containers and masks. Quest items are also lost, which, again, is very weird. But the masks are cool and the bread and butter of this game. You get these masks through various side quests through the game, and, the main focus, sure, is getting Majora's Mask, but, you only have a handful of dungeons here. There's only 4 main dungeons and a few side ones. The masks have way more grasp on this game in terms of story as well. The masks have a variety of uses. They are fully realized here. And if you're going to do a 100% completion thing, I guarantee you it's worth it. They basically all get used in some capacity, seeing as heart containers and masks are your main rewards outside of jars or an upgradable sword. I think it's simplified, and it's enough to where the game allows you to focus on individual characters and watch as the game progresses. It's really interesting. The game has plenty of this. And I think the best part is you don't have to come from Ocarina of Time to really relish all of these little small side quests. Some are goofy and simple, like dealing with these 5 boys to get a code for Link to get access to a secret passage, which, again, is cool, but you have to put in the same code over and over again, so how fun is it, really? Also, again, there's... Oh, Link. I see you have priority straight. I didn't expect that, but hey, good for you, man.
My man with the Triforce of Courage. My mom would be proud of me if I brought home twins, or at the very least, 2 lovely ladies. That aside, where is Backlog? I really... He would have gotten a kick out of this. I don't know where he's at. Alright, well, show's gotta go on.
One of the aspects where the game really shines is its dark, gritty, undertone. Sure, the colors are muted and stuff, and at first I thought this was just by accident, but no, this is done on purpose, as this game is very eerie. And it's such a weird place. Like, Termina isn't just for show, it's for feeling. Either the people of this town also are blissfully unaware that they're gonna die in 3 days, or just don't care. It's a weird mixture, for sure, but once the 3rd day hits, the emotions are rampant. The moon is a foreboding and creepy entity. Again, it's just weird. Everywhere you go in Termina, you can see this thing outside of dungeons, of course. Throughout the entire game, it lingers, and its visibility anywhere on the map or just anywhere in general, you can't escape it. It's everywhere. So, in other words, you have to get the mask back in order to stop Skull Kid from destroying everyone. But first things first, you need to get the 3 main transformations. You already got the first one, which was the Deku Mask, so basically going back to the Deku Kingdom is almost pointless in a sense, but it makes you do it anyway for the sake of the story. You visit the Deku Kingdom in this game where you have to... I'm sorry, you have to stop a monkey from being boiled alive? Oh my... What in the...
I'm sorry, what's the rating on this again?
He's blamed for the capturing of a princess. Basically, the king was throwing his anger out of this frustrated uncertainty of what's going on with his daughter, and lo and behold, he teaches you a song where you play, yada yada yada, point in case, you save the daughter, and then boom, the monkey's forgiven. Along your way, you also get to the owl statue where you can find the Song of Soaring, and this will take you from places to places on the map, just to make traveling easier. There are other songs that reverse time, fast forward time, heal weary souls, waking up someone who was asleep or something. There's a variety of uses for each of these songs, and if you played Ocarina, you're gonna know these patterns by heart already. Your familiarity with Ocarina of Time aside, ironically enough, doesn't really matter here still, as even the game's namesake, Zelda only appears for one small cutscene in this game, and that's it. It's just that, to teach you a song. Nothing more. There's really no other mention of Zelda in this game. The other main mask is the Goron warrior, who you eventually see after getting the Lens of Truth. Ironically enough, the Lens of Truth does not really need to be utilized outside of this if you know where the platforms are. This Goron captain, chief, warrior, whatever he is, basically bargains for his life to Link, asking him to use his magic, which he can't accept that he's gone. He's a grieving soul, and what makes the grieving process worse is that each of the Gorons think you are this warrior when you transform, addressing you as such. either they're not able to see the green hat and big differences, or they just don't want to let go. And I totally understand this. Some people really just can't handle the loss of love or a relationship or a friendship or any family member that may have passed on. The fact that a game from 20 years ago is reflecting this so well is only a testament to how well it's written and how well it's done. You help them do various tasks, but the biggest task is surely to warm up their home. And, of course, settle this crying brats issue. Lastly, the Zora mask is the one where you push this Zora to shore, he plays one last song for you, and you bury him? Oh, wow. Like, you even pray for him and everything. Anyway, just like the healing of the Goron, you play a song and you get his mask. Unlike the Deku, which basically was just your, I guess, tutorial mask, we'll say. But either way, it's just weird wearing the masks of these, deceased characters, which, again, as a kid, it's kind of grim to think about, but back in the day, this was honestly a big sign of maturity for some kids. I swear, this must have been one of someone's, awakening on, oh god, life is limited. Because as kids, we don't think that. I don't know, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking a mask could take over a body so willy-nilly. I would be disturbed if that ever happened to me. Anyway, you collect the main singer's girlfriend's eggs. Thankfully, you save them from a terrible fate, which ironically is enough the game's main slogan here, because Link is probably dead, according to some popular theory. Once you sing a song to a grieving Zora, the Hazard from Super Smash Bros. Melee Great Bay's stage comes up and it takes you to the next temple. The thing is, I really love how this game conveys grievances and acceptance during your time on Earth, or I guess Termina. You'll do missions on either the side to increase your hearts, or you'll go back to the original temples to upgrade your stamina, or a mighty spin attack, or whatever, getting these annoying little fairies inside the temple. They're about 15 each, and they're so freaking annoying to get to. Some of them are tucked away in the weirdest places. I don't understand how anyone was supposed to find them. Without some kind of a guide? The temples themselves are small and easy, very compact except for the last one, which, in the Great Bay Temple, I could not get the hook shot on this one part properly. I spent 30 minutes trying to do this. Other than that, they're all pretty darn cool, especially the last one, which is why I really can't get behind this 8-directional path thing. I'm sorry, I think this is the one key thing in the Nintendo Switch Online that is such a bad thing. I don't want to buy this, and I probably will. Trying to get these stupid ice arrows aside, I just really did not feel that bad because I got to rewind everything, thankfully. Once you get to the end, each of the temples, there's a boss, and basically it just goes, you beat the boss very, very hard, where, I guess that's just how bosses were back in the day. You'd actually give them a good old round of fisticuffs versus some articulate, meticulous kind of, oh, find the weak spot, oh, find this. No, you just went up and gave them the hands, or I guess in this case, swords. After you beat a boss, a cutscene plays out, giving you story lore, basically about Majora and everything going on with that. Though, the more bosses you beat, the more story you get, as it seems that their power is almost very slim or weak after being masked up through these weird bosses. If you do the side quest to get heart containers from this old lady, she'll actually tell you that this imp, which is just Skull Kid, was actually friends with these giants, and it gives you a big eye-opener realizing that, yeah, Skull Kid is just a nuance because he doesn't have anyone except, well, his fairy friends. But even then, he ditched Tattle, so I really gotta go on a rant about these side missions as well before we get to the last temple, because, man, they really, again, are the bread and butter of this game. Seeing as everything else can be done in a matter of hours, you can easily go to the 4 temples and beat the final boss, no problem, sure. But, unfortunately, it can't be said for everything else. It's kind of along the lines of you have to play this over and over again, just because you have to rewind time, go to specific spots, and of course, specific times. Using the Bomber notebook from the little brats you got earlier, it'll actually tell you who is who and what is what. Unfortunately, it was very hard to be comedic during this section of the review, just because, again, everything here is sad. Link essentially is the guardian angel that helps spirits cross over into the afterlife, if you think about it, each of the masks representing a spirit that is mourning or going through something. You can even see it as it goes to the clock tower timer, it starts clicking. Once you go into the clock tower itself, there's no timer. time is completely stopped. Everyone is in an eternal loop. I used the term purgatory earlier, and that truly is the case, especially when it comes to some of the characters. Without using any names, and for plain context, of course, these are some of the missions that you will find in this game. Imagine there's an older sister and a younger sister who both lost their parents, and now that they're both dead, they have to carry on working on a ranch, producing milk to sell to the village to make ends meet. And the older sister is struggling very much to keep up with her work. Also, there's aliens for some reason. I'm not even trying to be funny on this one.
I'll take 20 of whatever Eiji Numa was smoking on this project.
Or another side mission where a man turns into a child who was supposed to marry a woman, and after he turns into a child, he runs out of fear of being rejected by the woman he loves. And in actuality, she's waiting for him. She's sad. She's almost grieving, in a sense, fearful that he's not coming back. And it's not until the last night where the mom is alone and away from her daughter, and the daughter is waiting in the room to be married by her husband. If not, she will die alone. And thankfully, I put the positive stuff on screen because it was just really dark. And same thing goes for the postman. He delivers himself a letter every single day to flee the town that he knows is going to be destroyed. But instead, he chooses to die alone, defeated, and uncertain of what's going to happen. With regret in his life, it's actually really heartbreaking to see this. Thankfully, I reviewed this game 100%, so you don't have to look at those terrible, I guess, endings, but, you know, the happy narrative still, it is kind of irksome, just because you may or may not have seen this in your playthrough. The masks you get resemble a lot of these sad souls, which really makes you feel like you're collecting souls for the afterlife. This is a part of the 3 main masks, of course, but outside of that, the side quest ones still, I mean, you know, some get you in exclusive clubs like this milk club, or, you know, basic utilities like running around a lot faster, or whatever the heck that is. But it makes you think, besides utility, did these masks hold some kind of other spirit? Especially before Link got here, the Happy Mask Salesman almost seems like Satan himself. He's collecting masks. He's basically the guy who is a harbinger of fate of some kind. I just don't know how to put it. It's just eerie and kind of unsettling. Again, he could be a harbinger of death or Satan himself, depending on how you slice it. The game deals with a constant sense of deja vu, having to punch in the Song of Time over and over and over again. For these dang kids, you have to punch in the numbers over and over and over again. Or, you know, if you want to farm rupees, you can just do that over and over and over again. Thankfully, you can deposit your money at a bank and wait.
Wait. You mean the banker is the only thing that transcends time? At least it wasn't the IRS.
Yeah, I have no idea how the one person in this game that keeps track of your progress in Clocktown is the dang banker, but I feel like it would make more sense if Link had to hold on to his money, especially since he does get the big wallet. At some point, though, it's just weird, and I don't know, I noticed this, and I was like, this feels like an inconsistency. At this point, if he has 500 rupees in a satchel, he has at least 10 to 15 masks, guaranteed. Plus some of the other key items at this point. It's just weird how he has all this space for one thing, but not his basic utilities. And I have no idea how many times I've seen Skull Kid spank his rump while this tear drops from this view of a telescope that you go to over and over again. Also, again, what is it with this game series and tears? Also, if these Dekus could figure out who wants what land, it would be so much easier. Because, my god, I've given the deed of a Deku to another Deku, to another Deku, to another Deku. It's just really annoying. But you only get extra heart pieces for what it's worth, and I don't know, I just don't really care for that. Not saying that health isn't important, it's just that there's literally nothing else to get outside of the masks. Outside of the main items on your quest, the world is pretty empty in comparison. And this might just be because I came from Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild for this, you know, Zelda marathon of sorts, but at the same time, it has the lowest runtime of all Zelda games, so it kind of makes sense that in this Necklace Saga, I would be stumped by 1 or 2 games. Even the open world feels a little barren, which could be a testament to that as well. Age and design philosophy aside, it is a testament to gaming as a whole, and it has aged like fine
wine. And I just realized I made a small error while doing this, but the thing is, it's the shortest Zelda game out of all of the necklaces I have. And even though I fully played Tears of the Kingdom, and I have partially played Wind Waker. It was still the shortest one to do in the amount of time to get this episode out. But I wanted to just clarify that, seeing as obviously the NES Zelda game would be the easiest to review and play, and I really got to see if I could find a necklace for that, because that is easy content creation right there.
It was a key factor in why I did this, because it's the black sheep of the franchise, and for good reason. I felt sad, mortified, uneasy, and above all, in the short time, it actually made me feel.
This is one of those few games that actually got me into a deep emotional state. Mario Galaxy gave me the sense of, whimsy. Breath of the Wild gave me the sense of adventure. God of War, gave me the feeling of, fatherhood, and I guess a little bit of acceptance, just because, of the story with that game. This one, it made me feel limited on my time, limited on life, and, that's something that, it's a deep feeling, and a game that's 20 years, just, man, I still can't get over it.
There's things that you can and cannot change in this world. It's very reflective of our own life, and over time, as humans, we lose things. Friends, family, or even people we love.
My sons, this game really did bring in the emotions, just because it reminded me of a love that I might not get back. And it's not that it's okay, I'm still mortified about it 3 years later, give or take. Or my grandfather, who, I've mentioned this before, but he passed away in front of me. And I try not to bring it up, obviously, but giving this game's undertone of death, acceptance, grief, I felt like it was appropriate to say that this game resonated with me and made me feel those emotions, which, is amazing, because when it comes to a lot of human interactions, we don't embrace each other in these emotions. So my sons, I hope that you have someone that you can embrace those feelings with. And I encourage all of you to write something meaningful in the comments, whether it be something that, you might connect to with this game, or something a game that has connected with you, seeing as it's a deep thing to do, and not a lot of people actually have someone to go to. So I hope that I can reply to as many comments as I can down below. Right now, I can reply to a lot of them because of the subscribers I have right now, even though I have close to 300 amazing sons. It's really nice that I can connect and reply to as many people as possible.
This game is a masterclass in game design and storytelling. It didn't need a whole world of new things to tell a unique story, or stories, and since everyone had emotional connections to these characters while playing it, especially coming from Ocarina of Time, even though I didn't, it all comes together in this, perfect bow of harmony.
But guess who didn't finish Ocarina of Time yet? I only got to the water temple, so cut me some slack.
Yeah, I know, I'll get to it eventually. Also, even though there are the obvious 4 main dungeons, there are a few smaller mission-based dungeons that offer an insane variety of small puzzles, and there are interesting rewards to be found outside of certain things, such as a mirror shield, which then leads into one of the creepiest dungeons. It's so weird, oh my gosh. Basically, after beating this dungeon, you get a song that, no matter what you play it on, if you play it and you're wearing that mask, it will make a copy of the mask you're wearing, which in other words means
anyone who's dead.
Mind you, also, the puzzle leading up to this, it's required that you get as many items as possible to navigate a dungeon that you might have to redo if you don't have enough items or the right items before the timer runs out. I honestly can't tell you how bizarre and interesting it was to play these. Even out of a guide, you still have this sinking, eerie feeling when playing Majora's Mask, but your shield isn't the only thing that gets an upgrade. Your sword gets an upgrade as well. You could either get the Razor Sword, which gives you 100 hits, or you could get the upgraded version of that, as long as you have a little bit of gold dust and some time, because, man, this was one of those instances where I actually had to rewind the clock and then do the whole thing all over again. But back to the main story, your little fairy companion might not be as annoying as the one you were initially looking for, but for some part of me, I cannot believe she grows attached to you over time. And it actually shows in some of the cutscenes, unlike a certain other partner. I actually felt a little emotion when talking to Tattle, especially when she apologizes to Link for trapping him here in the first place, which in my opinion, I think the side quests hold a little more than the main story, but this was one of those elements where I actually felt something for the main story outside of just Majora's Mask is evil. The final temple has a really unique gimmick where you actually have to go in and out of the temple to 100 complete the fairies and getting the Great Fairy Sword. Another sword which you can use to, whatever, I guess. I don't know, I don't like the big sword aspect of this, and it takes up an inventory slot. It's interesting coming from Zelda games that don't have this per se, even though they do have bigger swords. It doesn't take an inventory slot. It takes a sword slot in Breath of the Wild. Also, yes, I know there's another game in the franchise that does this very exact thing. Thank you for telling me again. Comment section. The last dungeon is definitely the longest though, so be prepared on the first day, as it can get confusing and you will have to repeat parts if you don't have a guide. After that though, you could clean up any other side quests or, get a heart container here and there that you may or may not have, along with the rest of the mask, because guess what? You're gonna need them if you want one of the coolest endings in any Zelda game.
I hate the frog mission, but to give a small positive, the Goron boss is probably the most fun boss out of all of them, and that wizard is just really annoying.
I will say some of these missions, your only objective is getting a dang heart piece, and sometimes the reward is not worth it, especially when you have to do so much work to get it. I just don't like how limited it is, and especially how weird and long the tasks are. I feel like the payoff is a little limiting in that regard.
Man, I really could have made a backlog joke just about now, but backlog isn't even here for it, so... where is he? The episode's almost over.
As for me, I tried to 100% this game, but somehow I could not find this one heart piece, or I messed up a mission or something, and now I'm just missing one heart, which, again, is fine, I get it, but there's no way to track it, and on top of that, I did not feel like doing the side quest for an extra bottle. I didn't really care about it, if I'm being honest. I'm just gonna wait for the Majora's Mask Remake HD version to come out before I even attempt this again.
Okay, so my predictions for The Legend of Zelda's 45th anniversary aside...
On the third day of the festival, you face off against Skull Kid, but this time you're ready, as the giants then move to the sector where the moon is to crash, and they stop it on the final day. Majora's Mask leaves Skull Kid's body, like the Midnight Cinderella slipper it is, saying that this puppet has outlived its usefulness, proving that, yeah, Skull Kid was just a puppet. Once you get this, you essentially go to a Garden of Eden of sorts, where these 4 guardians that you already beaten are these kids, and it's so eerie. You can relinquish your masks and do extra tasks to get the last heart container, but the main prize is the Fierce Deity Mask.
The most broken Zelda item of all time.
Just like the Giant Mask, it's limited on its usage, but unlike the Giant Mask, this actually has a long-lasting impact on the Zelda franchise. As you go through the end of each dungeon, there's some philosophical question that each of these kids ask Link, which is so dark and eerie. I don't think any child would truly grasp this, even the Japanese market, where the kids are raised a lot more maturely than those in the West, eventually leading to Majora, where he wants to play with you, but since you have no more masks, he gives you the Fierce Deity Mask, which, to my reaction, went from,
"What is life?"
to,
"Woo! Now that's what I'm talking about."
This is one of the few hard-earned rewards in this game, but at the cost of every other masks. So finally, you take down the Demon of Termina, and everyone enjoys the festival. I will say the final fight was probably the most spectacular part of this game, just as it really was a final showdown to set these people free. And it was so weird. The fear that I had in this was unearthly. It was an epic battle that I wish the camera angle would be a little better on, but, hey, I had that rewind feature, so I'm fine. I had to rewind a decent amount of times with the Switch Online just because of the controls being a little janky, but again, what do you expect? It's a Nintendo 64 game. But with Skull Kid now forgiven by the giants, Tattle and Tail are now friends still with Skull Kid, as well as he realized his mistakes, and he realized he was truly never alone. Probably one of the most heartbreaking things is him and his self-destructive nature, not knowing that he still had friends. Seeing him quiver, being really upset about his actions, it's very relatable, especially to anyone who's made a mistake. Him being tainted by the mask only made it worse. Preying on his fears, his emotions, it was honestly really good writing. I just really felt for him. Finally, the happy mask salesman gets his mask back, though I see all of the different masks on his backpack and I wonder what a follow-up would look like. And also, I'm sorry, is that Mario? But hey, now that everyone isn't dead, the carnival can now begin. Man, as a totally not famous YouTuber once said, take a look at Majora's Mask after coming from Breath of the Wild, and you'll see how far we've come. Personally, I'd like to see the franchise go back to something more dark, more mysterious. Like this, seeing as these all, really led to the creation of more modern Zeldas. It was really interesting because now Eiji Aonuma has been the director since Miyamoto has trusted him so much. We've gotten a lot of Zelda experiences because of this game. It was a turning point for the franchise. Everyone in the land of Termina gets to live out the rest of their lives happy as long as they're not in purgatory. Normally, I would say this is a nice ending. You see the lives of those you saved not being in an endless death loop, and that is the ultimate reward for this game. The people you saved, you know that everything is going to be okay. However, there is still one victim. The Deku Shrub from the beginning of the game. That's right, Skull Kid's first victim wasn't in this loop. He was outside of the clock tower, and basically, he's gone. There's no loop for him. He wasn't able to be saved. Seeing the Deku Butler grieve in front of his son really struck a chord as someone who has grieved in his life for a multitude of things. But now Link is going to wander the Lost Woods again in search for Navi, his dear friend that, is interesting. And even though he lost her, he made some friends along the way.
Alright, that is the third game in the necklace saga for Zelda games. And I'm running a little low on necklaces, so I'm going to try and spread this out until I get a few more. I'm going to take a small break from the necklace saga when it comes to Zelda games, especially since I've played these games kind of passively throughout the years. That being said, though, I will eventually come back. It's just, a lot of these games are 50-hour, games and experiences, and I like to play them fully just to get my experience on them, and I'm... oh, God. Sorry, I'm coming back from, being sick for, the past, week. That being said, a huge shout-out to Adam Dodson, who provided a few songs. He had, I think it was, 3 or so songs. It was around a handful or less, but I couldn't play. He didn't have a lot of Zelda songs, so the ones that you can tell the difference, that are more orchestral, they are his in the background. And of course, he wants a commission once I'm monetized, which is totally fine. I am very okay for paying artists. I offered to pay Brooke. I offered to pay, Zelda's Echo. They just wanted to do it for the, the fun of it. And since I'm not paid on this anyway, I'm not, this is the one thing that might separate me from other YouTubers, but I would like to start commissioning people once I'm monetized. That being said, it is very taxing doing this. So we'll take a step, maybe do a couple games that I have played through before and I kind of know my thoughts on, and it'll make it easier to get episodes out. That in mind, so Majora's Mask had a lot going for it, and even though I was sick playing most of it, I think I got most of my general thoughts out. It is eerie, especially when it comes to the transformations of the masks, which I don't think I even mentioned, but they are so eerie. They're almost painful in a sense. And this game is nothing but a remembrance of, pain as we are human. So my mental health advice for you today is to hug a loved one and let them know they matter, because our time on this earth is limited, and with everything and the uncertainty of the world right now, I think it is, it's great to go, spiritually, but also make sure you love your loved ones and let them know that you do. With that in mind, guys, that's your health tip for today, and it has been a heck of a journey so far. I can't say this enough. I see my numbers go up, and all I can say is I thank you very much. So, what Zelda game will I be doing next? Well, I guess you're gonna have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Oh, one more thing. So, as of doing this, by the way, this, like, script, there is a Ghibli-style Zelda animation. I am not affiliated with this person in the slightest, but I'm going to drop a link to the YouTube video down below. Tell them Pops or Glitchy sent you. I don't care which, but just let them know that if you came from me, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Okay, cool, bye.